If you're a CrossFit athlete and you're wanting to improve your performance, get better at skills, gymnastics related or even Oli related, get into better positionings, let's face it, if you want to get better at your performance, I've created a free training for you that we're going to walk through together on exactly what you need to do to improve your performance. I don't care if you're a class athlete or if you're an intermediate athlete wanting to go RX and do things at a higher level, or if you're just working out in your garage and you're wanting to feel good and be able to take on anything that comes your way in life. I'm going to walk you through exactly what to do and how to structure your training and your life to become a better CrossFit athlete. I'm Kevin Andres, owner of K-Square Fitness, and I've been competing in the sport of fitness for the past 12 years. I've coached now thousands of athletes all across the world, helping multiple different people get on podiums. I got friends that go to the games. I've never personally been to the CrossFit Games. You got to be an absolute monster to get there. You got to be super strong. Although I've had really high rankings in the CrossFit Open, always making it to quarterfinals and getting close to semifinals. That road is challenging. My personal path of CrossFit is I want to be able to do anything that comes my way with my friends. I want to go play volleyball and not get tired. I want to beat you in a foot race. I want to beat my friend in a foot race. I want to be strong. I want to look good, and that's the way that I train. But let's get into this free training, and that's actually the reason why I framed that is because the first thing that we have to establish is what type of training are you trying to, or essentially train for? Are you training in a class and you want to get better at your class? So you want to do some things outside of class so you can perform better in class. Are you someone who is working out on your own in an open gym setting? You want to follow some type of personalized program or a program that's going to help you be a better athlete so that you can do more things RX, or you're already RX and you want to get onto the podium? Or are you someone who's working out maybe in your garage? Time is limited. Maybe your dad, a mom, you got a busy schedule. You're in a garage and you want to work out and get the best workout you can because you don't have a lot of time, but you want to look good, you want to have energy, you want to perform well in your work and in your life. So the first thing that we have to ask is, which of these are you? Class, do some more stuff to get better in the class. Open gym setting, you're an athlete, you want to do things more RX, or you want to step onto the podium, or you're working out in your garage, you don't have a lot of time, you have the best workout for you. Establish this as number one. Because what we do here should dictate exactly what type of program you are following. The program needs to be correlated to your goals. Let's say, for example, in your class setting, you are struggling with gymnastics. Well, you might look at a supplementary gymnastics track. Gymnastic strength is probably what you need more help of. We're going to talk more about that when I talk about gymnastics later on, but we might need to have some type of supplementary program that's going to support your class. In most cases, that is gymnastics. That is mobility to get into better Oli positions. That is improve your aerobic capacity or your engine or your strength. We have to find something that supports the class. Most people, from my experience, can dedicate maybe 15 to 30 minutes on top of their class because they're driven to get better in your class. That's number one. If you're someone that trains in an open gym setting, it's likely that you are someone that takes your goals very seriously. You want to know exactly what is going to be best suited for you. A lot of times these are coaches, or they're just people that don't like classes and want to do something for them. In this particular case, it's probably best to have a program that is suited for you based off your goals, based off your weaknesses. And I typically will ask people questions whenever they go through workouts. In a workout, you want to ask yourself, what are you continuously seeing struggle with? Is it work capacity? Do your muscles fatigue and you don't have the ability to keep going? Is it strength or is it pure conditioning? So you can ask yourself, is it capacity muscularly? Is it strength? You don't have the strength to move the bar? Or do you just lack the engine? We create a program together that is aligned with these things and that adds that emphasis into your training. Lastly, if you're working out in a garage or even an open gym setting or a global gym, whatever, you don't have a lot of time, you need to have a program that is going to be suited for you based off your goals that not only just gives you 12-minute workouts every day. Doing random workouts, I can tell you, is the worst thing that you can do, because if you're someone that wants to be ready for anything that comes your way, it needs to be what I call controlled chaos. That means you're getting a good blend of high intensity, short power outputs. Some days are long, slow, and steady. Some days are intervals. Let's get it. You get the idea. It needs to be constantly varied, high intensity functional movements, what CrossFit actually is. but it needs to be different so that you don't get bored. And it can't be random. It needs to be controlled chaos with a progressive format so that you can continue to see results. So determine what type of athlete you are, create a program or have a program that supports you with your goals. So we got type of athlete, we got a program that supports the type of athlete you are, supports your goals. And then we want to look at areas of opportunity. I can tell you the first thing that I do with everybody, because we want to improve efficiency. If you want to get into better positions lead to better positioning. Better positioning leads to better efficiency. So the first thing that I always do with an athlete is look at adequate or inadequate mobility. It's not fun, but it helps you have more fun getting into a better position. So the first thing that I like to address with people is looking at mobility and stability. If you can get into better positioning, you will have better efficiency in your workouts. The way that we do this at K-Squared Fitness is we have a daily 15 to 20 minute virtual class that is all about improving in range of motion at the joint level. Because let's talk about it. We are trying to get stronger. We are trying to improve efficiency, so we need to improve our in range of motion strength. This is not just stretching. Stretching, when I tried to figure out this whole mobility process, was not the answer. I got short-term effects where I felt a little bit overhead, but I never saw actual mobility changes until I applied this functional range conditioning, also known as PAILs and rails, which has become more popular over the years. But progressive angular isometric loading, which is essentially strengthening your in range of motion, because that's basically like clicking the save button in your brain so that when you get to the movement, you have better positioning and strength at that position. Number one, improve mobility. If you've got that, improve your stability. We do that with our 15 to 20 minute daily virtual classes. So a lot of athletes in general do some sort of stretching. A lot of you guys don't know exactly which ones to be doing that are suited for you on where your weakness is. But from my experience coaching thousands of athletes, for whatever reason, almost nobody trains core. When we talk about getting really strong and we talk about having intra-abdominal pressure, when we get into squats and get into deadlifts and get into presses, cleans and jerks and all these different things, we have to have adequate mobility, we have to have stability, and you want to have rock solid core strength. A lot of people miss this component, and I don't know why. I trained gymnastics as an adult later on. When I focused on improving my core strength, all my numbers went up. Having daily targeted core work is a cheat code to improving your performance as an athlete. So these next few bullet points, I'm telling you exactly what I would do to help an athlete progress. We talked about mobility, stability, core. The next thing that you have to have in place is you have to have the strength to play. Strength is the price of admission. If you want to be a more of a RX athlete, or you want to be able to compete at a higher level, or you want to decrease your injury chance, or you want to look better, all of these things all come down to strength. We have to be very strong, and we do that by focusing on positioning first with the basics. Let's get very strong at the compound movements first. Squats, deadlifts, presses. If we can get really good at these things first and not rush, you're going to have a lot better success when you get into your Metcons. If you're just doing a warm-up, a strength piece, and a Metcon, you are not going to get stronger. You're just going to go in there, you're going to get a great workout, and you're going to walk out. But over time, you're going to start asking yourself, how come I'm not actually progressing? We got to focus on the basics first. Imagine, let's say you're doing a thruster with a 115-pound barbell. Right now, you're already thinking, I can do that. You're like, oh my God, there's no chance that I can do that. Well, how can we get to where we can do that? Imagine if your front squat was way higher. Imagine if your pressing strength was way higher. Those numbers become a lot easier if you can front squat 350 pounds compared to what you can currently do right now, 215. What is going to be easier, squatting 350 and pressing a 115-pound bar, or front squatting 215? This is going to be, on a percentage scale, way more challenging. So when you focus on strength, the weight gets a lot easier. You can move weight faster. As you master the compound movements, we can then correlate that strength from strength with the basics into more Olympic lifting. But the primary foundation is always on the basics, getting very strong at those first. This leads into a technical piece where we have the strength, but now we're working on mechanics, technique, timing, speed. So we just talked about how strength over time will lead to greater, not only moving the barbell better in a Metcon or in a conditioning piece, but also on the Olympic lifting side of things, you'll be a better athlete. And I'll tell you, core mobility strength, adding in strength training will focus dedicated strength training on the basics, will help you be an Olympic lifter. And another cheat code is gymnastics. If you can get very strong with gymnastics, I talked about this a little bit earlier, gymnastics and positioning, because what is gymnastics? It's getting into a hollow body. It's having a rock solid core strength. Positioning matters, handstands, isometric holds, L-sits, all of these things, it's all about owning the position while being fully connected with your body. When I experimented with being better at gymnastics, all of these numbers went through the roof. And I'm not talking about doing the class workout or doing a couple of pull-ups, but same exact concept. If we focus on gymnastics strength, strength before skill, again, I'll say it over and over again, the stronger you are, the easier these skills will become. When someone says, I want to get better at kipping pull-ups, my number one answer is every time, how many strict can you do? I want to improve my kipping handstand push-ups. How many strict can you do? Same exact concept, guys. If you can do 15 strict pull-ups, don't you think you're going to have a lot better time of doing kipping pull-ups? Now, 15 is obviously a lot, probably more of an RX athlete, but let's say you're at 2 strict pull-ups. I would want to focus on building the strength and the foundation of strict pulling strength first. We can get to 5 or so, then we can begin to use kipping as a way to improve our muscular endurance, not the other way around. If you're only doing 2 pull-ups right now, and you're resulting to kipping first, we don't have the adequate strength in our scapula, in our shoulders, and our grip, nor the muscular endurance to result to kipping first. So we must focus on gymnastic strength first. That will lead to getting better at higher skills, but most people skip this process. So you can see how we're already beginning to be more of a well-rounded athlete. Talked about program, mobility, stability, core, strength, gymnastics. These are all things you have to be a part of the game to play. But what's the one thing that we haven't talked about yet? And maybe this is where you're looking for a breakthrough. Maybe you're someone that loves the strength, decent at gymnastics, but then you suck at what? Metcons or conditioning work. So let's talk about how important it is to improve your aerobic capacity. And depending on what type of athlete you are, for example, if you're just doing the class workouts, you typically probably get somewhere between a 8 to 12 minute workout and maybe and occasionally a 20-minute AMRAP. You most likely are really suffering from having an aerobic base that is going to be able to sustain you for longer workouts. And more even importantly than longer workouts, how about just metabolic health? Because being in a zone 3, 4, 5 all the time is not necessarily great for your health. In fact, to improve your aerobic base, let's talk about that. Your heart rate, if you're in a workout and it's a 12-minute AMRAP, and if we look down here and we talk about your heart rate and we talk about time, if you start to work out and your heart rate is already all the way up here, you're going to have a lot harder time because your heart and your metabolic waste can only hold on for so long that you're going to crash and burn. As opposed to someone who is more aerobically fit, has a better engine, and their heart rate looks something like this, they're able to hold off for longer on a lower heart rate. So that's going to mean they can do better intensity, higher intensity at the exact same thing that you are, but you're going to burn out faster because your heart rate is too hot. So how do you improve your aerobic capacity? And another way to look at that is very simply, like let's look athlete A and athlete B. Someone can run a 7-minute mile and their heart rate be at 162 as an average. This person can run the exact same mile and their heart rate be at 145. Who is fitter? The guy or the girl that has a lower heart rate. They're going to be able to have more work output. This person is just a dog. This person just gets it done, but this person isn't as metabolically healthy, and this person probably can run a little bit faster than a 7-minute mile because they have a lower heart rate. So if you want to improve your aerobic capacity to get better at Metcons, the way you have to do that is by dedicated engine work, varying different intensities. Probably 80% of your training should actually look like low intensity. And some would even call it low intensity steady state. Zone 2 training, which I know you're probably familiar with, but zone 2 training, low intensity steady state, because that's going to build your aerobic base so that when you do 20% of your interval work or higher intensity stuff, that you will be able to not spike your heart rate so quickly, but rather be in here and steady out because you have a bigger base. 80% of your training should be low intensity, 20% should be higher intensity. Best way to do that is to follow a dedicated program that's geared to improving your aerobic capacity so that you actually know what is working. We've talked about a lot of different things on how to become a better athlete, and you can see there's several different components of the sport. That's what's great about the sport is you have to be good at a lot of things. You have to be able to adapt and overcome, but a lot of this all comes down to training hard, and huge believer in training hard, but more importantly, recovering even harder. Recovering harder. So many of us want to train, but if you're not optimizing your sleep, your nutrition, your stress levels, and I'll say sleep again, if you're not sleeping well enough and you're just thinking, I'm just going to be a dog with all of this, you are missing a huge component of what it takes to be a higher performing athlete. Not even just an athlete. Again, talking about health in general, sleep and recovery needs to be its own category. It needs to be taken serious to be able to improve that as an athlete and in metabolic health. We've talked about a ton of different stuff on here on what it takes to be a high performing athlete. It all came down to the first thing, which was determining what type of athlete you are and what type of athlete you want to be. The class, who wants to get a little bit better and improving in the class, whether it's gymnastics, mobility, engine work. If you're someone who's doing work from open gym and you want a proven plan that is going to help you be in the best case scenario for your weekend competition or just to be thriving in your life, or if you're an RX competitor and trying to get to the next level, we have to spend time on what it takes. We have to spend time on that first so we know which track to put you on. We talked about how important mobility, stability, core strength is, how the price of admission to the sport itself is to get stronger, how gymnastics is going to help you get better at Olympic lifting, how improving in your speed, your technique, and your positioning is all going to help you be a better athlete. We talked about how having a robust energy system and building a strong aerobic base is going to help you perform even better because you'll be able to do things at a lower intensity. The problem that most people have, if you're doing random workouts every day, how can you know what's ever working? And if you're thinking to yourself, well, that's what CrossFit is, it's a bunch of random workouts. And maybe years ago you came over to the board and we thought, what's the hardest thing that we can do today? But you're going to burn yourself into the ground. What needs to happen is, like I talked about earlier, controlled chaos. I did this, now I'm going to do that, now I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to back off. And let's actually talk about that just for a quick second. A training cycle. The way that we operate our programming at K-Squared Fitness is 7-week training cycle. So if we don't know where you're at, we're never going to know where you have gotten to or what's working. So we spend a little bit of time taking on some tests. Then we go into a progressive overload training system. Let's say we find out what your numbers are. Let's just talk about, for example, a back squat. If you back squat 300 pounds, we don't show up to the gym every day and squat 300 pounds. In fact, we'll probably squat, let's just for simple math, we might squat 60% for a certain number of reps and sets. The next week we might do 65%. The next week, 70%. What we're doing is we're giving our body and our neurological system time to progress. Because if you go in there and wax it every day doing as much as you possibly can, you're going to run yourself into the ground. You're going to continue to get injured. You're going to have a hard time sleeping. And you're going to have a hard time growing. But if we do this system, progressively overloading and then taking a little dip to have your body recover and then retest at the end, our process is typically 7 weeks. Test, progressed, deload, retest, and we do this over and over again, and it's most likely that you're going to see it increase in your strength. And what happens is if you don't gather this data and that data, and you don't reflect back on that process, how do you know what is even working? And that's why we collect the data. We did this, we did that. How did your body respond? What do the numbers look like? Because the data doesn't lie. But we do find that this system works, but really what people need help with is accountability itself. Some people say, I just need a program. I'm disciplined enough. Tell me what to do. I'll do it. That works for a little bit. What most people really need is accountability, which is why people like the classes, and the concept itself is they're wanting to surround themselves with like-minded people. But accountability and culture and community and support is what people are really looking for. And that's exactly what we do at K-Squared Fitness. If you want to learn more about how we program, how we can help you overcome your bottleneck on what it is you're struggling with to become a better CrossFit athlete, click the link down below to schedule a call, and let's talk about what it is you are missing. And if I can help you, I'll simply lay out the framework of what it looks like working together as an athlete and as a coach. And if not, you'll walk away with a ton of free resources knowing exactly what you need to do to be a better CrossFit athlete. Click the link down below to schedule, and let's talk about how we can help you reach your goals. Hope to see you on the other side.